Hey everyone, Kareem Rae here, and today I have Burke Fahling on with us. Hey Burke, how's it going?
Good, good. And yourself?
I'm good, thanks. First of all, I just want to thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
Yeah, of course, of course. Happy to.
So can you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, so my name is Burke Fahling. I'm 24, American, and I play for the Charleston Battery here in South Carolina. And I'm about to enter my second season with them.
Nice. And did you grow up there your whole life, or did you just recently move there?
No, I grew up in Tupelo, Mississippi. So I lived in Tupelo until I was 11, and then my family moved to Seattle, Washington, and that's where I mainly developed as a player. Was over in Seattle, and I played my youth there, and then I transferred to University of Memphis, or went to University of Memphis for college when I was 18, and then transferred to Seattle University after a year and a half there. So I've been back and forth with the South for a while.
Nice. And can you just paint a picture for us? I'm in Canada right now, Toronto, GTA. How was it growing up in Mississippi? Can you paint a little bit of a picture?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was awesome. It was great because it was very outdoorsy. I mean, I know the first thing everyone thinks of when they think of the South and Mississippi is it's racist, people are fat, and it's just illiterate, which probably was going on someplace in Mississippi. But where I grew up, it was a very friendly area. It's again, I was young, so I was probably oblivious to all the other stuff going on. But I mean, it was the ideal childhood you could ask for. Outdoors, I'd play with everyone in the neighborhood would play. So it was a bunch of kids my age, and so we would always play. Luckily for me, I have 6 brothers and 1 sister. So my older brothers, they were playing high school soccer, and they were I have 4 brothers that are older than me, and they were all playing soccer. And there were 2 kids who were friends with them in the neighborhood, and one of them was on the national team for U15 or U16 at the time, and the other one was a very good player. So we would play pickup soccer in our backyard all the time. So in terms of just growing up and outdoors, I mean, we could do whatever we wanted. It was super fun. We had a soccer goal in our backyard. So in terms of a kid's experience, that was the best I could have asked for.
Right, and it's always interesting to me because the top sport in the U.S. is football, right? So soccer is the 4th or 5th top sport in the U.S. So did you play any other sports besides soccer, or was soccer the main sport you guys used to play?
I played flag football, but it's funny because my dad growing up only played football, and he played high school, and then he played a little bit in college for Wyoming as well. So he never knew about soccer. I mean, he didn't know anything about soccer going in. And then all his sons ended up we all played soccer. 4 of us have played college. 4 or 5 of us I think have played college soccer. And yeah, so it was just again, some of my brothers played t-ball for a little bit, but soccer was our main sport. I only had one brother who played football. He preferred football over soccer, but we loved it, and we would play all the time. We had a huge backyard, so we would just play all the time, kick around, and it was awesome. Again, people in the neighborhood would play too, so it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Bert, can you just take us back in time and just share with us how you got? I mean, you actually already did introduce how you got involved in the beautiful game, but can you take us through step by step on how you became a professional soccer player? Did you start in house league rep, and then go to an academy, and then work your way up? How was your journey? What was your journey?
Yeah, so starting from the very beginning, essentially.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, when I was 7, I was playing flag football and soccer, and again, I have 6 brothers and 1 sister, and my parents were all right, that's you could really only get one sport because they had a lot to do. So they were all right, you're gonna have to choose between football and soccer. And my dad was in Mississippi, those kids are freaking huge for football. They're 12 and they're 220 pounds, 6 foot, and they can run fast as hell. So it's he was, and I'm small, so he was, and I was tiny as a kid. So he was honestly, he's you can do football if you want, but he's I think you're better suited for soccer. And I was yeah, I agree. So I knew, I mean, and then I know it sounds kind of cheesy or whatever, but when I was that age, I knew whichever sport I chose, and thank God it was soccer. But I was I'm going to play professionally. That was all I thought. When I was young, I know every kid is like that, but I was very intent on it. And then, so yeah, I played in Mississippi, rec league, which was actually decent, and for what it's worth. And then I moved to Seattle, and the level there was so much higher than I was used to. So I tried out for a club team in Seattle called Northwest Nationals, which is no longer a club anymore. But I did like a scrimmage with their team, my first training, and I scored and did well. So they wanted me on the team. And then I ended up playing for Crossfire Club after that, who was our rival actually. And so I played for Crossfire from like age 13 until age 16. And Crossfire, they also have an academy. So once I got to like 15, I played in their pre-academy. And then at 16, I played in their academy. And I had like the coach there, his name's Bernie James. He's a pretty like popular coach in Washington, like well known around the country. And he's like a very old school coach. Like, you know, you have to have a lot of thick skin to train under him, and which I'm very glad I had him, because he really did teach me a lot about like toughness, even though I don't think I was that. I have growing up, I think I had a very good work ethic and a very good attitude, but I don't think I was tough in the sense that I don't think I could handle like criticism very well. I would let it get to me. And so I didn't really realize that until I got much older, that is like a crucial part in playing, is like you have to be able to take criticism and like quickly and absorb it and then move on. And so, you know, he was very good for me for that. And he was like, he would say the worst things to you and you would just have to get over it and keep playing. So he was my coach until I was 16. And then I kind of had like a falling out with him. I broke my arm. I was starting for Crossfire, and then I broke my arm when I was 16, and I didn't play for like 2 months. And when I came back, I just never got to play. And I thought I should have, because I thought I won my spot back, but I just never got to play. I eventually got cut from Crossfire. And then, so I was 16, I didn't have a club. And then I didn't play for 6 months because my parents couldn't afford it. So for 6 months, I was really just training on my own, and I was kind of like waiting for an opportunity. And so I was training a bunch, I trained every day, and I was pissed at Crossfire because they cut me. So I was like, my whole plan in my head was I was going to make Sounders Academy, which is a huge rival with Crossfire Academy. And Bernie James hates Sounders Academy as well. So like, I was like, I'm going to make this team and I'm going to play against Crossfire, and like, it's going to work out. So I trained a lot on my own. And then for 6 months, and then I ended up joining a select team in Washington. And it was like, it wasn't that great of a level, but like I did very well. And that was right before high school season. So then going into my junior year, I hadn't really played, like I only played select. So I hadn't really played on like a decent level team in like a year. And I went into the high school season, did really well that high school year. And I knew the only way to get on Sounders was through film. So my dad would film like every time I touched the ball and just made a highlight tape. And then I sent it to Sounders. And then my senior year, I got a trial with Sounders Academy. And then I made Sounders Academy. And then I played with them for my final year. And then after that, I went to University of Memphis. I didn't commit to Memphis until my senior year. Like that was when they first found me. And I actually had to reach out to them as well, because they didn't really know who I was. And then after Memphis, I did well my freshman year. My sophomore year didn't really go as planned, honestly. I got kind of big-headed and just didn't perform. And then they didn't really want me anymore. So I needed a fresh start. So I transferred to Seattle U. And that was like, I was blown away by the level there, because I remember my first like week or two there, I was like, man, like this is like a high level. Like, I mean, I knew I could play there, but I was like, man, this is going to take some work. And then finally like adjusted, because they just played so quickly and like it wasn't what I was used to. And it was like a very intense tempo. So after Seattle U, I got an injury my junior. So the first season I played with Seattle U, was supposed to play with Seattle U. I got a sports hernia and I was out for 8 months. So I played that spring season when I arrived, but then the actual season is in the fall for college. I didn't get to play. So I only got the next year, like my senior year, I got a year there and I got to play. Didn't really play that much, kind of like subbed in and out, started like 4 games maybe. And then I had an option to take a 5th year. And I knew I could play professionally. I knew I was good enough, like I knew I was good enough physically, and I had a good work ethic. Like I knew I trained more than any other player, or like as much as I could. And I knew that the only thing that was keeping me back was my mentality. And like mentally, I just think I was like soft in terms of like, I just didn't rate myself as high as I should have. I don't know. It was just like a huge confidence thing for me. And so I knew if I stayed at Seattle U for a 5th year, it was just going to waste a year for soccer. So I told him, I was like, I'm just going to go play. I was like, I'll play wherever, but I can play professionally. So I dropped out of Seattle U, and this was December of 2019 that I dropped out there. And so I just started reading a ton of books on like mindset, manifestation, like meditate. I started meditating a ton, and would just basically was trying to like rewire my mind to think positively and to be like more comfortable in stressful situations on the field, and it actually helped me off the field as well. So my buddy who was playing in he was playing in Holland at the time. He told me, he was like, you got to get into visualization. Like it will really help you.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing a ton of visualizations, and I would just visualize myself on the pitch in like a situation where I would feel stressed, and I would just kind of like deal with it in my head. And the cool thing about visualization is that when you visualize something and you activate your senses while visualizing, your mind doesn't know the difference between that and reality. So it was like I was playing in real life, but like I wasn't, so I was getting all the repetition I needed without even having to work my body. And my mind was in that stressful situation. So I would do that a ton. And honestly, like, because I wasn't in school and my buddies were, while they were in class, I would do that for hours. So it was super fun for me, because you're just creating this, dialogue in your head and this like goal, and you just keep on reinforcing it. So also during that time, I didn't have an agent, because again, my college career was very like it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, dead even. So
what did you study when you were in university?
I studied psychology.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I knew I had to like really put myself out there, which I was fine with as well. So I just started contacting anyone I knew who might be able to help me like all I wanted was a trial, because I knew the way I kind of changed the way I trained from usual too. I was much more focused on like specific things, like my first touch, checking my shoulder. And I really felt like I had a hold on what I needed to improve on. And I felt like I actually could improve on that very quickly now, and like understood the game just so much more. I also changed my position. So I was a winger most of like all college. I was a winger. And then in the summer, I would play on a summer team. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Everyone after college plays, or after the college season ends, they'll go play summer league somewhere. Like I played for like a MPSL team, and then like an EPL WA team, which is like a really low division in Seattle. But I would play center mid, and I loved it. And I honestly thought it was my best position. So after I dropped out of college, I changed my position to center mid, because I was like, I just need to get on the ball. Like that's the position I feel like I can drive at the most. And so I did all that. And then I started sending emails like crazy to just any team, basically in Europe. Like I probably sent thousands of emails, but I would send emails to every division in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Spain, Germany, England. And I would send it to all the lower divisions. I even sent like emails to like Barcelona and Bayern Munich, just because I was like, I don't care. Like this will be fun, And so I would send all those emails out, and I had like my highlight tape on there, things saying basically all I said was like my name, my age, my country, and then I said all I want is a trial. Like I saved up money as well during this time I was working, because I knew I'd have to pay for it. I was like, I'll pay for everything. I was like, I just want like a week or a day. I was like, give me a day, because I was like, if I get one shot, they'll take me. Mm-hmm. So emailed a ton of teams, no responses. And I would, every like 3 or 4 days, if I didn't get a response, I would just resend an email. So eventually I started getting emails back. They would be like, stop emailing us, like stop. And I was like, okay, whatever. Took them off the list. And then finally I got like 2 or 3 emails. And this is after like 3 or 4 months, probably. I got like 2 or 3 emails from the second division team in Norway, was the primary one. And their name was Stordals Blink, and they said, all right, look, if you can pay for like yourself to come here, we'll give you a week. And this was during COVID as well. So they were like, we don't know the COVID restrictions, but like if you can get here, we'll give you a week trial. And I was like, let's go. So the date that the border opened for the US was August 20th. And this was in June that I had contacted them. So I was just banking that nothing was going to change. And I was like, all right, August 20th, I'm going. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to try with them. And then August 20th came around, and the restrictions hadn't really changed that I noticed. And I mean, honestly, I was going to go regardless. I was like, I just got to go. So I went to Norway, and then when I got to Norway, at the border, the guy who like basically allows you to come in the border, he was like, you cannot come in. And I was like, and I had an email from the club that was like, he is allowed to trial with us for this certain amount of time. So I thought that was going to be good enough. He's like, sir, he's like, you have to make a certain amount of money. He's like, you can't just come for a trial. And I was like, I was like, oh God. So he was like, you have to go back today. And I was like, yeah, hell no. I was like, first off, I'd never been to Europe. And I was like, I'm not going to like just go to Europe and then go back that same day. So I told him I couldn't find a flight until like 3 days later. And he's like, all right, fine. So luckily I had a family I was staying with there, and I had never met them, but they were super nice. And I got to tour like Oslo, got to tour some stadiums, but I never ever got to even visit the team I was supposed to trial with. And I did tell the coach like, hey, sorry, like I can't come. Can I come another time? And he was like, yeah, we can see you after the season. And then things just fell through. So when I got back, like 3 days later, back to the States, I had no agent. I had no opportunity anywhere. And I was like, all right, I'm going to have to like figure something out here. And then that's when I looked online for a combine, which I really didn't want to do ahead of time, but I was like, it's the only thing I had. And I saw that PSC, they had a combine in December, and this was in August. So they had a combine in a couple months in December.
What year
And
is this?
this was 2020 now.
2020. And how old are you in 2020?
I am 20. I was 22, and then I just turned 23.
23, okay. Yep.
So then I signed up for the combine, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be like, I've heard these combines could be like, decent, or they could be terrible. So I was like, I'm going to have to be the best player there, like by far. Like, I was like, no matter what, like there's going to be professional scouts there. And I was like, they need to like, I need them to like talk to me. So I just trained like crazy. Like, again, I was doing so much stuff. Like I didn't have a job at the time. My job was training kids. So I'd make money by training kids. So it was the best thing ever, because you get better by coaching actually. Cause like you just notice little things that people do, and then you add it to your game. And it's honestly really cool. So I would coach a ton, and that's how I made my money. And then I had a lot of free time. So then my free time, I would just visualize and train. And so I actually got a personal trainer, which I've never done before. And he was very, very helpful for me, because it was different. I always think I know what to work on, because I think I'm pretty honest with myself. But he was very good in the sense that like he was able to push me in ways that like I couldn't necessarily push myself. So fitness wise, like I was exceptional. Like it was the most fit I've ever been in my life, most focused, like most prepared I've ever been. So then the combine came, and that was in December. And the combine came, and I was like extremely ready. And the first night, all we did was play every day, like 11v11. First night, after the first half, I had a couple coaches come up to me and talk to me. And then after the game, one of the Battery assistant coaches came up to me and was like, hey, if you play like that the rest of the days, like we'll invite you to a trial. And I was like, perfect. Rest of the days did very well again. So I got my trial offer for January. Same thing. Prepared like crazy, went to my trainer, got fit. And that was awesome, because my trial with the Battery was, it was fun because there was some of the Battery guys were on the other team that I was like playing against. Not many of them, but like two. And again, I did very well, and they said they wanted to sign me after that. So in February, I signed with them. So it was like from the time I dropped out of college to the time I signed, it was like a year and a month. And then finally I signed with them, and now I'm here. So yeah.
So you signed at 23.
Yeah.
So yeah, you signed pro at 23. And once you signed that was your first professional contract, right?
That was my first professional contract. Yeah.
Oh, how did it feel, and what changed after you signed?
It felt fucking incredible. It was like, it also felt like I was like, in my head I was thinking, no, duh, not in an arrogant way, but like, I mean, I put everything in. Like, I know there's stories. I know a ton of people who have had stories of they'll put everything into it and it won't work out, and I like that sucks. And I knew that could have happened to me as well. But like in my head, I was like, I couldn't, like, there was no way I was not going to sign with the club. Like I would have played it for anyone, anywhere. And so that was like, it was a relief more than anything. It was more like, thank God. But I also knew that I was like, all right, like this doesn't really do, it's like, I didn't make it, like I knew that I was like, I have more like higher goals. And also I was like, I don't want this to be a 1-year thing, So that was like very, very relieving, I guess. And then your second question was,
what things changed once you signed pro in your life, things around you, people? Pardon?
Like how so?
Yeah, no, it's just a question. Usually, I've heard when I ask that question, sometimes people share, that there's things that have changed around them. People may be treating them differently, good or bad, look at them differently. Sometimes things change, right? Your status changes and things change, right? So that's what I was asking you. Did
Mm,
anything change for you?
that's a good question. I'd say, I mean, little things like soccer's not like a well-known thing in South Carolina. I mean, it's South Carolina, like they're all about football, but like there's like little kids who will like know who I am. Like there's like like it's not like, let me paint the picture for you. It's not like, you go around, you're walking in a store and everyone knows who you are. Nothing like that. It's like you'll be at the soccer field and there will be little kids that have come to the game and they'll be like, oh, hey, like it's like that. So like little things like that would change. I'd say like the vision that I had of like professional life was much different in terms that was part of it. Cause like I think when anyone thinks they're going pro, they think like, oh, like everyone's going to know who you are. Like, it's going to be like this incredible thing. And it's more just like, it's a lot of work. Like, it's like, yeah, like there's some of that stuff to it, but it's like, you have to perform every day and you have to have like the right attitude every day. And like, you have to adjust certain things every single day. And like, it can become monotonous. Like you can take it for granted in the sense that like, you can think, oh, I'm a pro, like this is just another day. And the moment you start to think that, because, I had fallen into that spell, like for little bits, luckily, only a short amount of time. But like, once you do that, you're going to screw yourself because like, it is like, you have to perform every day. And like, your mindset is most important. I'd say the biggest thing that changed was I saw that like a professional mindset is like, you really value yourself and like, you value the traits that you have. And that's something I learned from I'm thankful because I learned it from the older guys here on the team. I could see in the way they train, like they just trusted themselves so much. Like even if they make a mistake in doing what they normally do, they would keep doing it because like they knew that's what they were good at. So I see that like whatever you're good at, you just have to keep doing that. And you just have to have like an undying confidence in it. So I guess that is what changed.
Nice. So, Burke, you're training kids, which is one of the best jobs, coaching as well as playing is like the best of the best. Again, this is a question attached to the status. Are you still coaching now or?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm coaching more than ever now.
Nice. So that was my question. Did your clients increase because of your status change?
It increased because that helped, but it's not like that gave me them. I still had to go out and get all these kids. Because again, it is South Carolina, but like the kids do know who I am, so it makes them more inclined. But like they're not just like messaging me. I had to go out. Like I'll go out to the fields a decent amount of times a week because I just like watching soccer as well, and I like seeing what the youth like produces in different states. And so I like would go out to the fields and watch like young kids play and see how they played. Like if they have like good coaching or like good technique. And if I find a kid that I like his like skill and his like attitude, I'll go up to his parents and be like, hey, I like train kids. If you want to train with me, let me know. And so I do that. And then I've done like a couple like group sessions as well, where I actually did my first team session where I got like 8 kids and like 9-year-old kids. And we did like a team session. So that was fun. So it has grown, but I would say it helps. It obviously helps that I'm a professional, but like they're not coming to me. I really have to go out and get them. And then if you do a good job through word of mouth, like you'll get more kids. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So right now you're playing in the USL Championship. It's the second division. It's right beneath the MLS, very high level. What's the difference in level wise between when you were playing amateur college and then now when you're playing pro in the USL Championship, which is Division 2 in the US Soccer Pyramid?
Mm-hmm. I would say the difference is honestly very small. I would say if you have played Division 1 soccer, even probably some top Division 2 teams, if you've played on a top 25 Division 1 team, then you can play USL. You can play USL. And even if not, because it's very similar. I'd say the only difference is like there's a little bit, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to say because there's some college teams that are really good that just play, like they play it their own way. I'd say there's like a tempo in this league, I guess. Like it's more professional in the sense of like, I don't know, it just feels like there's less games. It's less intense every game. Games are still intense, but it's not like in college, it's like you have 19 games in the span of 3 or like 2 months or 2.5 months or something. So it's like extremely intense every single game. And it's like just like running all over. I'd say it's a little more controlled than college, but that's it. Honestly, I would say it's very similar to the college level. honestly.
Got it. What are three things that you like about the USL Championship?
Three things I like.
About the league?
Uh, I like the different atmospheres. I like going to different stadiums. Like Tampa Bay has a great atmosphere. I think we have a great atmosphere at Charleston, and it's growing, getting better. Um, Pittsburgh had a good atmosphere as well. But it's like it's cool going to different places and seeing like it's really nice seeing, especially in America, seeing like fans of the game who know like actual soccer. You know, like they're not just there because they want to have a drink, but they're there because they want to watch soccer. And so I appreciate that. I'd say I appreciate that it provides an opportunity. Like, one of my coaches told me when I signed, he's like, your foot's in the door now, like you have a foot in the door. So it's like, it provides everyone a foot in the door, whether you're on an MLS2 team or on an actual just USL team. You have the chance to progress, and like you could go, quite literally anywhere from there, and it's all on you. And then I would say the third thing that I like about the USL, let's see here. I like that. Honestly, I'll just stick with my two. That's all I got for you.
Nice. I've been to the Tampa Bay stadium. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Being in Florida, the weather's obviously beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I wanted to expand on the lifestyle of football, right? You guys are consistently traveling to different states. You mentioned different atmospheres. What's the biggest amount of fans? How many fans have you performed? Like, what's the most fans that you perform? That you've, what am I? What's the most amount of fans that you've played in front of? Yeah, thank you.
I think I want to say 4,000 to 5,000. That was at our stadium. Again, we get a good crowd most games, especially if it's on the weekend. I'm pretty sure we had 4,000 to 5,000. So it might have been like 4,200 or something. I think Tampa, one of the games, I forget how many they had, but I feel like they were close to that as well. It was probably just under 5,000. But again, it's like, it doesn't sound like a ton, but the way the way the stadiums are built, sometimes it feels a lot more. And again, you're playing in front of everyone. Like even 1,000 fans, it's very fun. So I love it.
No, it's definitely huge. Like the most fans I played is like 200 fans. Saying 4,000, 5,000 is a step. I know the BPL and the EPL, the English Premier League is 50,000, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But still, this is a level, right? You're playing at Division 2, performing, playing in front of 4,000 fans. That's massive, right? What does that do to you mentally? Especially it being a home game, that's a boost. But let's talk about in an away game, Tampa Bay. You guys have 4,000 plus fans in the stadium. Like that's the 12th man going against you guys. What does that do to you mentally? They're talking shit to you guys. They're trying to get you guys off your game. What does that do to you mentally?
I'd say honestly, I love playing at home because it's nice to score in front of your own fans. I honestly get a bigger thrill out of playing against other teams, just because like if their fans are annoying, like I love like if you can like ruin someone's day on another team and like not just their players but their fans and just like get under their skin by doing something like creating a goal or like getting a shutout or something or like just beating them. It means a lot. Like it's just a really good feeling winning away. And I mean, it's obviously nice winning at home because you get like the exhilaration of everyone celebrating, everyone's on your side. It's almost even better having everyone against you because like you just walk away smiling because you're like, all right, well, we won. Like, doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So, do you think it's important? Obviously, it is. You're an athlete. How do you take care of yourself mentally and physically?
So again, mentally, I'll start with physically. Actually, physically, I do. That was the thing I had to learn the most this year, and I'm looking forward to applying in this next season. Is it's hard to know. I love doing extra training, but I never want to. I've gotten 2 injuries in my past from training too much, and like it put me out for a decent amount of time. So like my biggest thing this year was like I'm not going to get injured. Like my mindset was I'm just going to stay healthy. I'm going to stay healthy and fit and like as sharp as I can be. So it was kind of finding times to do my individual. Because you got to work on stuff individually because trainings are not based off like always off the individual. Sometimes it'll be your position specific, but like sometimes trainings, you'll be like, okay, like I don't feel like I got what I needed out of it necessarily. Like for me personally, like to improve, obviously it's like more team oriented. So if you're going to do individual stuff, you have to be very calculated with it. And so I would start doing like at least 1 or 2 times a week, like a light session. Like I would do something, but I would I'd train for like 35, 45 minutes, but it would be very light. Like it would just get the motion just to know that I could like kind of like remind my body and mind to be on the same page. And then I would stretch as well, and then mentally I would do a lot of visualization. So before training, I would do like visualize like certain situations, like first touch, and I would always look to set like a goal for the day, like something I wanted to improve on, like whether it would be like positive first touch, or like I want to do like a scissor on someone, like and beat them, like just something little, just to like, again, it can be monotonous. It's like it is exciting being a pro, but when you're every single day doing the same thing, after a while it can get monotonous. So it's like you have to find things to stay motivated, and like I would look for little things to improve upon.
Nice. Well, you know, let's just go back and when I asked you what things changed once you became a professional footballer, because it turns into it's a job, right? Like it's not a sport anymore; it's a job. What things change, right? If you're not performing, the game's a little bit of cutthroat, right? They'll take you out, they'll sub you out, you're not playing, so on and so forth. So, in that terms of aspects of the side that when we're growing up, we don't really know about, because we're just having so much. We're so in love with the game that
Mm-hmm.
you're part of the 1% in football, right? So there's not a lot of players get to experience that side of the game, that it turning into a job, and then what things happen, because I've heard many different things about once it turns into a job, it becomes different, right? Things change.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, you're exactly right. And I would say for me, what actually helped me, because I mean, I love soccer no matter what. Like, I love it my whole life, and I'll always be around it. But what changed for me to make it a little more competitive for me is thinking of it, and no, I mean, it is, but being like, this is a job. And I get like I love to compete. I love competing against my teammates, and like I love being able to look over at someone and like I'm competing against them and be like, I'm going to be better than them. So in my mind, the way like I would handle it to like help myself improve is I'd be like, I'm going to take someone else's job. And again, like it is a cutthroat kind of business. So it's like the way I see it is like you have to be cutthroat. So it's like I'm gonna tackle him harder, like I'm gonna like keep him on the ground, or I'm gonna beat him, like I'm gonna like win this ball. So it's like you're winning a job against your teammates are your biggest competitors in that way, because you're competing against them. And then when you get in the game, it's like obviously you're competing against those guys, and it's like then you really want to kill them. So it's like I always think like I want to take someone's job, and that's the mentality with that. And then I'd say for the change from like when you're young, it is a weird change, because it's like when you're a kid you just love it, and like now I still love it, but it is like it's like when you come out as a kid and you don't play well, you're probably going to play the next game. And in the academy it's a little different or something like that, but like you're probably going to play again, but at this level it's like if you make a bad mistake and you let it affect you, you're gonna get like it shows that you are not professional, so it could really hurt you. Like for instance, one of our last games of the season versus Atlanta, I like the first 10 minutes, I passed the ball straight to the forward and he scored. And I knew it, like I right as the ball left my foot, I knew it was a mistake. And afterwards, I had to like I just forgot. Like it didn't really affect me, because I was like, okay, obviously I made a terrible mistake, but I was like, I can't dwell on this. And I played well the rest of the game, and we ended up tying. And like, but I knew like in my head I was like, we tied because of a mistake I made, and I knew that could cost me like my position. And the next game I actually didn't start because of it. But like I felt better because I was like, I performed the way I wanted to perform the rest of the game. Like I didn't let a mistake affect me. So it's like you can't let little things, even like not playing. If you don't play a couple games, you have to always be ready to play. And that's the one thing that I think I had to learn, because again, I got a good amount of minutes this year and everything. And towards the end of the year, I didn't really play as much. But it's like when you're in college or when you're a kid, if you don't play, you'll be super mad, and it can affect your game. But here it's like if if you're mad, it's like no one really cares. It's like you just have to perform. So it's like if you don't perform, you're not gonna play. And if you're not playing and then in training you let that affect you and you're not performing in training, then they really don't need you. So it's like you really have to be. Joey Barton has a really good quote. He's like, you have to be emotionless, and it's like it is like that. Like soccer's such an emotional game. Like you feel really good one day and then you feel terrible the next because you had a bad game. And it's like you just have to be very even, I think, to be consistent.
nice. And I like in this interview, you talk a lot about, your mind, right? Always, you're always visualizing these things. I really like that. And it was something that was very important to you. How important was that, that using visualization as a tool, how important was that for you?
I think it's massive. That sports in general and soccer especially. I mean, you look at players like Xavi. Xavi's not going to be playing, football or like basketball. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but like soccer is all about awareness and like the mental side of it. I think is so important because you can really only do so much physical, and I think the mentally, like it's infinite. Like I genuinely believe that if anyone wanted to play this game, that they could, and as long as they have legs, obviously. But it's like if you want to play this game, I really do think you can, and I really think it just matters the opinion you have of yourself. I'll see interviews with like random players in the Premier League or like players in like lower divisions, and they'll always have like some story of some coach thought horribly of them. They got cut from a team, and then they ended up finding their way and like ended up playing professionally somehow. And it really is true. The only opinion that matters is the opinion of yourself. I mean, I don't think that's just for soccer. I think that's for life as well. But it's like, I love it because when I get better at soccer, at least I feel like I'm getting better at life because I'm learning things from the game that apply specifically to life. And like the mentality that you have is like, it's like you can't just, what I'm finding out is that it's like, there's no perfect remedy. It's like, you're always learning something new. One of my teammates and good friends here, Robbie Crawford, he's 28 here, and he's played with like Rangers first team. He's played in Finland. And now he's at the Battery, and he's 28. And he's like, dude, I'm still figuring out like, different things I can fix and like learning new things. And I'm like, that's every player. I feel like if you don't learn, you don't consistently improve, you're not going to last. So I think the mentality and like the mindset of it all is most important.
That was awesome. That was awesome. And I agree with you 100%. That the change room is a great place. That's where a lot of banter happens, good conversations. And you mentioned that he was 28. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but some of the older guys now, they have families, wives, girlfriends, right? And they're in a completely different space, but you guys are all in the same room. You guys are in the change room, sharing experiences, having conversations, building a bond, a brotherhood, so on and so forth. What has the change room done for you?
Again, I think I've learned a lot from the older guys. I feel like I'm very intuitive in terms of how people carry themselves. And I notice like I always pay attention to how people talk about themselves first off, if they're complaining or if they're like a victim and they're just saying everything's against them or something like that, or if someone's just optimistic or positive. So I would notice guys like the guys that did do very well, they kind of kept to themselves. Like they'd had their personality in the locker room and like they'd make jokes and stuff, but they would never open themselves up to be attacked, because what I've found is that when you do open yourself up and like to the team like that, and it's like, again, we're all competing against each other, people will use anything to like, beat you. And like, whether that's, a personality trait, they notice that they can like hit or something like that. So it's like, I learned quickly from the older guys, and probably the most valuable thing I've learned is like, keep stuff to yourself that you don't want to want thrown around. Keep it to yourself and just stay quiet, and then like you can obviously like be yourself, but like be yourself mostly on the field.
Great points. So you're pro. You just finished your first year. You're gonna dive into your second year this coming January 2022. 2022 you'll be turning 24. Obviously you're about to have 2 years under your belt now. What advice can you share with the young generation right now growing up that want to be in your position, that want to go pro? What would you share? What are 3 tips?
3 tips?
3 tips you can share with the viewers, yeah.
I would say the first thing is, like I just said, the only opinion that matters is the one of yourself. So again, my biggest flaw when I was younger was I would very highly rate what other people would say. And again, it doesn't matter how like credited someone is and what they say about you. Your opinion of yourself is the most important thing. So if you can build a strong personality and a strong like vision of yourself, and like your thoughts and your feelings and your actions are all in line, like I truly believe that if you're thinking something, you're like thinking you want something, but you're feeling completely different, your actions aren't going to, it's not going to balance out. But if you think something and you feel something and you're acting on it, it is going to come to fruition. Because like, I mean, not like to get very technical, like in quantum physics, that is how the world works. we're in line with our thoughts, our emotions, and then our reality kind of creates from that. So it's like, I would say get that straightened. And then the second thing I would say is, again, the only opinion that matters is of yourself. I'm not on social media a lot. And there's a reason, because it's like you have so many different opinions from so many different people, like we already get opinions from our friends and family, just like from us, like when we're interacting with them. But for me, I stay away from that stuff as much as possible, just because you will subconsciously start to think things about yourself that like you probably wouldn't think normally. Like you'll be like, oh, why don't I like, I could look at, people like Mbappe and be like, wow, he's younger than me. He's making tons of money. He's playing way better. But it's like, you have to focus on yourself and like, you have to go your own route. So I would say number two, I'd say like isolate yourself from the world in a sense, like focus on what you want to do. And then the third thing again, I'd say is just like, I would say like, trust yourself. Like I think you have to trust yourself. Like, again, I love professional soccer because you're betting on yourself. Like you are your own business essentially. So it's like, if you do well, it's only going to get better for you. And it's like, you have to do well by believing in yourself and having like a vision for yourself and then consistently putting that out there. So I do think it's a lot of alone time to spend with yourself. And that's what I've learned is the amount of time that I spent alone and like really thinking about what I wanted. Because again, after I dropped out of college, there was about a 3-week period where I kind of took the time to think like, do I really want to go pro? Like, like obviously as a kid, I wanted to go pro, but I had to think like, am I willing to like do what it takes? Like, cause I knew it wasn't going to be easy and that like, I would have to just deal with like adversity and things that came up. And it's like, I think you have to know, I think spending time by yourself allows you to know who you actually are and what you're capable of. And if you're willing, I mean, anyone's capable of anything. So it's like, it really just depends on who you are as a person.
Absolutely. Was that the second one or was that the last one? That was the third one.
That was like the third one. They're all, honestly, they're all the same kind of, but it's like that was my three, I guess.
Okay. Awesome. And the last question I have is, what's your most memorable soccer moment in your life?
In my life.
So this far, you have many more to come, but this far.
I'd say my first professional goal for sure. First professional goal is I have a lot of good moments, but that was a relief. Like that was a very good feeling.
Nice. And share paint the picture. Like, was it a home game? Did you guys win? Like, how did it make you feel? Like,
yeah.
I want to hear about it. Let's go.
So it was like our 4th or 5th game of the season. We hadn't won yet. And I did not start. I had started the game before, but I was not starting this game. And I was pissed because I thought I deserved to start. Like, so I was very pissed and I was very focused. Like, I was like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to score. Like, I told myself for the game I was going to score. Like, I've said that to myself before, but it was like, I knew in my like body I was going to score. And then like in the warm up, I felt like extremely sharp. And then we were just getting killed at halftime, like just getting destroyed. And I was like, I'm going to come in. I was like, I cannot wait to come in. And I knew I wasn't coming in as center mid. I was coming in outside mid. And I was like, all right, I'll get to like run at a guy. So I got on the field like in the 60th minute. And then in the 70th, someone said, one of our players, Zico Lewis, sent a ball in. And I like had like an easy tap in, but I was pumped. And then we ended up winning 1-0. So it was away. It was at Loudon. And it was like, their fans were like all parents, it was probably like 30 people there in total. And it was just a bunch of parents, like super nice people. And I had like a kind of a douchey celebration, but I was so pumped. I was like, I do not care. This is my first goal. Like, it was awesome.
Nice. All right. So we're at the fun question stage. I have 10 fun questions.
Right.
The fun one. The first one is, who's your favorite team? You have a favorite team?
Leicester City.
Leicester, favorite player?
I mean, Messi is my favorite, but Jamie Vardy, other than that.
Jamie Vardy, nice. It's nothing close to a Jamie Vardy story. There's no one in the world yet.
Yeah.
We need a second one. What's your favorite pair of boots or cleats?
I like the old school. I wore them actually this year as well a little bit. The Adidas, the black Adidas, the kangaroo. I think it's kangaroo leather. Copas. I think they're called Copas.
Copas. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like white, 3 white stripes, all black leather. Those are my favorite.
What's your favorite type of food?
Pad Thai.
Pad Thai, yeah. Pad Thai's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite artist or a favorite song right now?
My favorite artist is, I really like the Lumineers. I really like the Luminaires, honestly.
Nice. Messi or Ronaldo? I mean, you kind of answered this already.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do you play FIFA?
I did. I haven't played in a year, so.
I mean, if me and you we're gonna go, we're putting $1,000 bet. We're gonna play FIFA.
Honestly, I think I don't know how good you are. I think I would still be pretty good at FIFA. I would just do like a 5-4-1 formation, and I would just defend because if I'm playing against someone and they're good, I'm just gonna defend the whole time if I haven't played in a while. So I would bet on myself.
I haven't played in a while either, but we got $1,000 on the line for example, and we're playing for $1,000. What's your team? Who are you choosing?
I would choose Bayern Munich.
Bayern, yeah, that's a good pick. 2 goals in the game or 1 goal and 1 assist?
A goal and an assist.
Nice. Would you rather, it's the last minute, would you rather score a penalty shot that's guaranteed or a free kick that's 50-50?
Oh, free kick.
50-50. You're going for a 50-50 goal though? Tied, last 90 minute. You guys are tied 1-1. A 50
And the PK is guaranteed.
No, it's not guaranteed. It's a 50-50 chance. Both are 50-50 chance.
Both are 50-50, and would I rather have a PK or a free kick? I would take a PK. I would take a PK.
Second last one, no, this is actually the last one. If you were a coach and you were able to sub in any player in history, who would that be for you to win you the game? Your time is 1-1, last 90 minutes, last 10 minutes of the game, who are you putting in?
Any player?
Any player.
I would choose. That's a tough one. Again, I'm leaving Messi and Ronaldo out of this just because they're another breed. I would say just because I really like this player, I'd say Michael Laudrup from like the 80s. I like him.
Nice. All right, Burke. Before we go, can you just share where players, if they want to reach out to you, where they can reach out to you on?
Yeah. So I have again, I don't use it a ton, but I do have an Instagram. So I think it's like it's Burke Fahling 16, but I check that occasionally. If just my first and last name and then my number. They can reach out to me on that if they want to talk, and then I have a Facebook as well that I'll check occasionally. So if anyone wants to reach out, yeah, they're more than welcome, and that's how.
Absolutely. All right, Burke, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us on One Soccer Nation podcast today.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Nice to meet you as well.
Likewise.